And welcome. My name's Sol. I'm doing a modding class. This is a pre-recorded video. This is not the actual recording of the lecture that I had yesterday. Yeah, technically the day before, but I'm making a new one just because there were so many interruptions, some weird technical stuff going on. So this is much more clean and more the way I wanted to do it in the first place. Before we begin, be sure that you grab all of the files that you need from the attached link with this video. It should be down in the description or attached to it somewhere. There's a Google Drive link that has all of these files that you need. The ones specifically that you do need, let me open them up here, are going to be an assets file, a script file, a mymod underscore script RPY file, and a mymod underscore storyline RPY file. Don't worry if you don't have these RPYC files, these are just compiled so that whenever your game runs, it automatically writes these RPYC files. So don't worry about that. You should have these two folders and these two files. Getting started, the way this course is intended was that it's a follow along course. So the things that I'm doing in my text editor right here, you guys should be able to follow along and do exactly the same thing as I did, and it should work. Now, given that I'm doing this all in basically one take, there will be some learning experiences, learning opportunities that will become apparent as time goes on. This is an iterative process. So the more times you do it, the more successes you're going to have, and the better your game is going to come out. That being said, this is not a class for actually making a visual novel. This is specifically designed for modding Snoot Game. Although many of the lessons in here can be transferred, that's going in a scope away from what we're doing here. So if you're worried about setting up a whole bunch of different stuff like you'd see right here in all of this mess that is the Snoot Game files, don't worry about that. Just follow along with what I'm doing. These are the basics. This is what is going to end up working for you. That being said, speaking of files, let's talk about the way that Snoot Game has their file organization set out, because I believe that having a strong idea of how you want your hierarchy executed will give you better success later on, making sure that you have everything in the right place, you can find everything, and it's not just pushed all together in this amalgamation of files that only you know how to read. So, when you open up, go ahead and open up that. When you open up your Patch 8 New Year's Win, it will look like this, somewhat. I have added a shortcut for my desktop, and I've also added Archive Anons Snoot Archive 2.5 for mods and other cool stuff. What yours should look like fresh out of the box is from Game all the way down to Traceback minus the shortcut. You're going to go into Game. You're going to go into Mods. And this is where you put your folder. Your folder should have all of these files and folders, like I said earlier. It should be just one folder. I titled this My Mod. That's just what we're going to go with. Go ahead and do that. Take all of the files from where you saved them into here, and you should go ahead and be able to open them up. That's how you install a mod. That's where we're going to be for the majority of the time here. But let's back up a little bit and go through the way Snoot Game has their stuff set up, because this is essentially just a big version of what your mod folder is going to look like. For example, if I open up, let's say, the fishing trip, you see we have assets, script, storyline, and a script file, and a test file folder, which isn't supposed to be there, but we have all of these scripts, we have all of these, or well, we have our audio, And we have our images in all of these folders. And then I have a true type font file for a special surprise. You don't have to do things exactly the way that I do them. This is just the way I do them to give you a start. So, like I said, you see an audio. This cache, GUI, saves, source, and TL are all things that RimPy has to have. You don't have to have it because you're not creating a brand new game. But this GUI file, options, screens, utility, don't worry about those. Again, it's a RimPy thing. What you do need, absolutely do need, is some sort of assets folder or folder to contain all your assets. If you're producing a longer mod, for example, the one that we're doing, the fishing trip mod, has multiple chapters. I would suggest having a script file like this, like Snoot Game has. That way you keep all of your things in one spot and you don't have them everywhere. But if it's a shorter mod, like for example, Gay Sex with the Priest, which is the Naomi mod that I put out back in earlier this year, you can do everything in your storyline file and you don't need the scripts because there aren't separate chapters. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Some best practices are gonna be pretty much how I have it set up here. This is what I found works best for me. Whatever you find works best for you, have at it. It's the way you want it. Let's get into how we're going to actually use these files. Obviously, you see this big black rectangle right here. This is a program called Sublime Text. It is a rich text editor. It's not like Microsoft Word where it's a Word document processor. This takes just blanket text and opens it up and you can edit it. Sublime Text technically can run Python in-house inside the program, but it's kind of ornery and kind of hard to do, and it's really weird, so I discount it as a feature. You can open these files up in regular Notepad and be able to edit them. That's fine, whatever works for you. A couple other examples that I have that I don't have downloaded on my computer but are valid to work with are Atom, which it's ATOM, Atom, spelled like that. This is essentially GitHub's version of Sublime Text. It's a text editor, but it works within GitHub and the GitHub file structure. So you can see what edits have been made, what's been pushed, what conflicts there are, just all in-house. So if you're working with GitHub, I'm not going to get into that in this video, but if you are working with GitHub, Atom might be something that you want to work with. I've been working with Sublime Text for like 6, 7, 8 years now, something like that. So this is just what I'm used to, what I like. Sublime Text is free. It does have a free version. There is an $80 license fee if you choose to pay it. That will get you access to the whole program, and the whole program essentially is just being able to change the colors and access more of the config files to make it work more how you want it to work. The free version is fine enough. You don't have to have the licensed version to do pretty much anything. The other one that you guys might be familiar with is Notepad++. It's Notepad, but better. And that is something that a lot of people use in lieu of Sublime Text. All three of these are essentially like this, in that they just open it up. You can write the code, and it doesn't do anything fancy. It does exactly what it says it does, nothing fancy. Now that we've talked about text editors, if you don't already have one, I would suggest getting one of these. Sublime Text is spelled like this, and it's going to be Sublime Text 3 is the version that I'm running. So any 3 of these, go ahead and pause the video if you don't have any of them. These are the 3 that I suggest. Moving on, just a quick aside, if you are also doing the writing for your mod, meaning you're writing the script, you're doing all of that stuff, some pointers I'd like to suggest. When you're writing, keep in mind whatever you write, you have to animate. And when we get to ATL, or the animation transform language, it'll be abundantly clear that there are some things that you really don't want to animate, and you will have to write within the limitations of your artistic ability, both animation and also art. If you choose to have additional CGs or character graphics or backgrounds, those all need to be drawn within the parameters of your story. So don't do anything super crazy, and remember that if you write something, you have to animate it generally. I would focus more on dialogue than actual blocking, so I wouldn't say, for example, Anon walks to the right, or I walk over to the corner of the room, because you might have to animate that. Or stuff like that where there's movement. You can imply movement, but it shouldn't be the focus. The focus should be on the dialogue. That is what the player interacts with the most, and the visuals are just there to add a little bit of flair and give more meaning and more weight to the words that are in the text box. Moving on, assets. Your assets should be in a folder all clumped together. This is just what I recommend. I have an audio file, which has, Boo-Womp, a Needle Scratch, and the Portal Radio. Just for some examples, you have an OGG file, you have an MP3, and I believe this is it's another MP3, but you can also use WAV, FLAC, AAC, anything like that. If VLC can play it, RimPy can play it, for the most part. And then I would suggest keeping all of your images separate, just so that you know exactly where everything is. You have your BGs here. I don't have any custom BGs, so the folder is empty. Same with CGs. We do have a custom sprite for this, and that's in this sprite. Backing up to, for example, into the fishing trip, if you go to Assets, Images, you see all of these files. And these are all different characters. So it's not all this huge, messy file where you have to go searching for something. If I want to see what the Naser sprites are doing, I can go ahead and open up the Naser sprites. If I want to see what the fulls are for it, I can open up the fulls. Just keeping things neat, tidy, in their place, definitely the way to go. With all of that being said, let's go ahead and get started on the thing that you're actually here for, the mod class. When you're writing your mod, I suggest a 3-file system. Having your script file, having a storyline file, and having an extra chapter or dialogue file. At least one. In the examples of, for example, MoMod, and Puppet Pals, and let's see what else. Yeah, Snoot Fiction, and Priest Mod, Gay Sex with the Priest right here. They are all one file. So your storyline has all of the dialogue, all of the animation, and all of your defines. That's okay. Totally fine. It's done before. I just like the way this is set up so that I have my script, my storyline, and my my dialogue and animation file. So let's get into what this actually is. The way I have all of my scripts set up is I have this init Python right here. This is essentially copy pasted from the README when you go into mods. This README opens up. It says right here, init Python, modding support variables, all mod RPY files must have title of their mod that shows up on a button, and finally the label that controls the flow of dialogue. Mod menu access plus equals this. Name, mod name, label, mod storyline. What does that do? So this mod menu access, when you open up extras and go into mods in Snoot game, this opens up and this adds a new button with the name of your mod. So let's go ahead and add, if you don't already have this file open, go ahead and open it up. And we're gonna name this my mod with a smiley face. Look at that. So now, if we open up, I'm gonna save that. If we open up Snoot game, which we will in just a second, the button is going to say my mod with a smiley face. Now this label is weird. This label is what gets called whenever you click on this button. So let's call this label, and we're gonna do everything. I'm gonna do everything in camel case, meaning it starts with a lowercase letter, and then every word after that is uppercase. So I can also do my mod storyline like that. And this is just the way I prefer to name my things. You can also do my underscore mod underscore storyline. You can do that as well, as long as these things stay consistent and they are case sensitive. Keep in mind that they are case sensitive. We're just gonna go back and finish this up. Now, you'll see this label down here. Well, what does that do? You're going to take whatever this is right here, this label, and you're gonna put it here. There we go. So this label right here is calling this label here. Now, what do I mean when I say call? Inside of here, see, this is line 13, line 14, should be something different. And we'll leave that blank for right now. The important part is that you have your init Python, you have your mod menu access, and then you have your label with a call to something. To give you an example of what a fully functioning script file looks like, it's that. So this is the script file for momod. See the init Python, mod menu access, name, mojob, label, momod, label, momod, and then we're gonna call momod storyline. And there's also a define in here that is different from pretty much anything that you'll see otherwise. I can open up the fishing trip script file, and you'll see that it has a lot of stuff in here. The purpose of the script file, in the way that I use it so that all of the Python stuff goes into here. This is where all of the Python happens. We're not going to get into how to use Python. For the most part, you don't need it. But if you want to add extra functionality to the game, then Python is the way you do it. So, for example, you have this label, fishing stats, point score. This sets the point score to whatever, and then this label here is where it determines the endings. So if the point score is greater than or equal to 5, it goes to the, actually that's supposed to, I'm not going to change that right now, but I just realized that this is wrong, and we're going to have to change that. But this is just an if-else. If the point score is greater than or equal to 5, you get an ending. If it's greater than or equal to 3, you get an ending. Otherwise, you get an ending. All in all, this shouldn't be too complicated. This is enough for what we have right now. So we're going to call, actually we're going to go over here to my mod storyline. And this is a new thing. So see up here where I have all these hashtags and defines and characters, BGs, CGs, sprites, audio. When you want to add a new anything to Snoot Game, you have to define it. If you want to add a new voice, for example, when the text box comes up and a character is speaking, it has a little bubble at the top here on top of the big bubble. Actually, let me open up Snoot Game. Okay, we're gonna go to here. So you'll see that this is right here. So this defines what character is talking. And then this is the dialogue. We'll get to that in just a second. Go ahead and close out the audio so that doesn't get in the way of everything else. So I'm probably going to cut that part for me opening up Snoot Game. So this is what I did in order to make it open. So label is going to be my mod. I took out my mod storyline because you're calling the storyline file. So your script.rpy should look like this. Your label should be my mod. Your label down here should be my mod. And your call should be to my mod storyline. Go ahead and pause here. Make it look like this. Once it looks like this, unpause. And we're going to go over here to my mod storyline. So this label down here, if you open up this file, it's going to be blank. And we're going to put this label, my mod storyline, because the script file is going to call this, and it's going to use this label to call chapter 1. I'll get into how that works in just a second. But when you want to add any kind of anything, any new anything to your mod, you have to define it. So if you want to add a new character, a new name, for example, if you go to chapter 1 RPY, you'll notice that all of these lines here, and you try to open it, all of these lines don't have this box. It looks like this. There's no narrator. Well, let's say you want a narrator. You're going to, under characters, you're going to hit define NARR equals character narrator, comma, color equals, in quotation marks, let's do X 42690. Okay. So what the hell did I just do? We called a define. So define is going to take this character tag, and this character tag brings up the character class with the name attribute narrator and the color attribute of Xcode 420690. We're going to save that, come over here to chapter1.rpy, and we're going to hit NARR right here. So what does this do? This, as it comes through, because it reads from top to bottom, left to right, it hits this character tag, and it says, oh wait, I know this one. This character, the name is going to be narrator. Like, here, the name is Fang. Here, the name is narrator. And the color is going to be hex code 420690. So we're going to Copy that. We're gonna go open up Snoot Game. We're gonna go back to the main menu, extras, mods, my mod with a smiley face. We're gonna click that, and shit, what the fuck happened? It's my bad. So you're going to open up Snoot Game again, if you haven't already. Extras, mods, my mods. There you go. And now you have this purple, very dark, deep purple that says narrator, saying this is the start of something great. Cool. That's the first part. Technically, you could call this a mod. It opens, it runs, you can click through all the dialogue, and then at the when it returns at the end of course you'd say that, it just goes back to the main menu. And there you go. That's a mod. Well, let's make it a little more interesting. So now that you've defined your narrator and your character and your color and stuff like that, let's actually make it do the thing. We are going to add a scene. So the scene sets up what's on the background. What is the background? So let's do scene outside school with capital D, solve 2 in parentheses. We're going to save that, and we're going to come over here, and we're going to Shift R. This is how to do that Shift R thing. You're going to come down to, RenPy, common, and you're going to look for 00 library, this RPY file right here. You're going to open that up. You're going to go down to line 322, I believe. Yes, 322 right here. Now, once you've done this, you should see that this says false. You're going to take line 323 config.developer and make it equal capital T true. Don't worry about this one. It's fine. If, just a caveat, if you are shipping a totally from scratch visual novel, make sure at the end before you ship it, you turn this back to false, because it can cause, or it can allow the player to do some really weird stuff, and you don't want to distract them from the rest of the game. So once you're done, everything ready to ship, make sure this turns back to false. But since you're doing a mod, this is in the base game, so if they don't already have it, they won't have it. And then you're going to save that. That's going to save, and we're going to go back to whatever we were doing just now. All right, back to here. You're going to hit it, and boom, there you go. You have your scene. This is the outside school background. Ta-da, you've done it. So let's add some characters now. Let's do scene outside school. Let's do show a non-neutral flip with dissolve 2. And actually, let's make that a regular lowercase d dissolve. Show thing neutral with dissolve. Neutral flip is going to be at a right. At S left. Okay, we're going to save that. And what do we do here? So, what I want you to get into the habit of is knowing where your characters are without having to go back into your program. It's a thing that takes time and practice, but once you get this, you'll have it, and it makes things so much easier because you don't have to keep rechecking where your people are. Scene outside school with dissolve 2. Show a non-neutral flip at A right with dissolve. So let's walk through this. Show puts a sprite on the screen. That's it. It declares, all right, you're going to show something, it's going to pop up on the screen. If it's already on the screen, you're going to change it. And that's where this tag comes in. Remember when I said you want to define everything beforehand if it's new? I'm going to show you in just a second when we add a read sprite which parts need to stay the same. So right here, a non is a character tag. It's exactly like everything except it applies to the sprite. So you can have a non-neutral, you can have a non-oh shit, you can have a non-angry. You know, no matter what, it's gonna be a non. And I'll show you what you can do with that in a little bit. So a non-neutral brings up the sprite. A non-neutral, that's GitHub, that's not where I want to be. I want to be here. So a non-neutral, when you bring it up, it's going to be in his base set. A non-neutral right here. This is the boy. Ta-da. There we go. So this is the sprite you're going to get. A non-neutral flip. Flip is a function that causes him to face the other way. So if you remember looking at this, he's looking from left to right. This is the orientation of every single sprite in the game. They are all oriented left to right. You can do something with X zoom, but we're not going to get into that. I don't like using it. We'll show you what X zoom does in a little bit, so we're getting to that. But for now, just know that if you have, let's see if I can do it in here. No, I can't. You'll see in a second. All sprites look from left to right, unless you have a flip, in which case they will flip along the vertical axis and look left or right to left. At a right, so at tells RenPy, hey, look for a position transform. Well, what's a position transform? Almost every character in Snoot game has a position transform right here. So you have custom variables for positions. You have transform S center, S left, S right. These are your generic ones that you use for all of the other characters, except for Stella, which is going to be ST, Anon, which is going to be A, Nazer, which is going to be N, Fang's mom, or Samantha, which is going to be FM, Trish is going to be T, and then Reed and other long-tailed dinos is going to be R. So Reed, Mo, and I think those are the only ones that use R center. So what does this do? It sets the X align to 0.5 and the Y align to, in Anon's case, 0.1 if you're going at A center. We are using A right, so it sets the X align, which is 1.0, and the Y align to 0.1. A quick thing about align. Your Y align, unless you're messing with the Y value up and down, it should pretty much always be 0.1. Your X align sets, and it's really weird, it sets the X position all the way to the left if it's 1, or sorry, if it's 0. It sets the X position all the way to the left of the sprite, which has a lot of white space. So the sprite, as you can see down here, has all of this black all around it. This is all white space. So it sets the X position all the way to this corner, and it moves it all the way to the side of the screen. So, for example, we're using A right, so it sets the X align, or the X position all the way to the right, where it takes from the X, and then it aligns the edge of that white space to the edge of the screen. If that doesn't make sense, it's okay. It's not going to. Just don't worry about it. Just set all of your Y aligns to 0.1 or 0.0 and you will be happy. I will show you how to use X center, which is the much better version. But we're going to show a non-neutral flip at A right. With dissolve. So dissolve is a transform that just dissolves one into the next. If they aren't there, they will dissolve over a period of time to be there. And you will see it right now. We're going to open Snoot game back up. It's going to auto reload. We're going to get here. We're going to reload. All right. So back to narrator. This is the start of something great. School comes in, Anon comes in, Fang comes in. Ta-da! Well, I kind of want to do it all in the same swing. So this dissolve, this lowercase d, dissolves it in, is just shorthand for dissolve 0.5. So this dissolve, this big dissolve, is the one that you want to use for longer transitions, longer or shorter dissolves. It just works a little bit better that way. This big D dissolve takes an argument. This little d dissolve does not. This little d dissolve is shorthand for this, and this little d dissolve is kind of, I guess, the base. All of the dissolves are over half a second. It just looks better that way. So we're going to take this out. We're going to take this out. We're going to take you. We're going to put it down at the bottom of this block right here. So now, with all of that, this width, dissolve, let's make that 2. Everything that happens from here up happens all at the same time. Let me clarify that. If there is another transform up here, this happens. So let's say, I don't know, scene black, show Mo at our center with ease in right. Just something. So the scene black is literally just a black screen. Show Mo doesn't have, Mo has one sprite. So you don't have to specify Mo neutral. At our center, so he's going to be in the center right here. With ease in right. Now ease in right is a transition where it'll come from the right side of the screen, and it'll kind of zoop right in to whatever is defined. So it would show this one with this ease in right, and then immediately go into a 2-second dissolve of our outside school and Anon and Fang. We're going to clean that up, and we're going to start making the characters talk. So the character tag for Fang is a capital F. The character tag for Anon is a capital A. The character tag for Read is RE. So make sure that you have all of your character tags set up like this. So that way, whenever you get to these dialogues, you'll have the character talking. So let's go ahead and save that. Pull Snoot game back open. It's going to want to reload. I'm not going to let it. Go ahead and reload. Shift R. Alright. So we're back to our narrator. This is the start of something great. Everything fades in at the same time. You got Fang right here, you got Anon right here. They're facing each other. This is a non-neutral flip. This is Fang neutral. Now you have the character tag right here saying it's Fang saying, "Sup dweeb, you seen Reed anywhere?" And as soon as you click, Anon says, not recently now. And then, oh wait, here he comes. And then Reed comes in screaming. Well, hold on. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's talk about X-centered really quickly. So we're going to show Reed scream. We're going to put a colon. We're going to do X-center 0. Negative 0.5, Y line 0.1. Let's pause for a second. This show Reed scream. Well, we don't. This isn't in the. If you go to here and go to the base game, there's not a Reed scream anywhere. There is in your mod folder. So if you go into mods, my mod, assets, images, sprite, you have this Reed scream sprite. It's not in the base game, so we have to define it. We're going to go down here to sprites. We're going to say image Reed scream equals capital I image in parentheses and quotation marks. Follow this file path directly. Mods / my mod / assets / images / sprite / read space scream.png. All right, save that. And that is how you declare an image. This is how you declare any image. You have, BGs, CGs, all of your sprites are going to follow this naming convention or this convention. If we want to flip it, because flip is a separate sprite, that's just how it works, as opposed to xzoom. In order to flip it, you have to do image read scream flip equals im.flip, and then in parentheses this, actually I'm just going to copy paste the whole thing, this file path, copy paste, comma, outside of the quotation marks, horizontal equals capital T true. Now, what this does is whenever you call read scream, it'll call this, and then read scream flip is going to call the flip side of that. This im.flip just flips it horizontally, flips it on the vertical axis. So we're going to save that. We're going to go back to chapter1.rpy and then show read scream at this position. So this is a new one, X center. So X center takes the dead center of the sprite, and that is what is referenced in this position right here. So now is as good a time as any to go into what the X and Y positions are. Your X position, your X0, is this left-hand side of the screen, right here where my cursor is. Your X 1.0 is all the way over here on the right side of the screen. your 0.5 is dead center in the middle. And it is split up into 10. Into the tenths places. You can go hundredths, thousandths, if you want that level of precision, but we're not going to do that. We want X center at negative 0.5. So it's going to be all the way over off the left-hand side of the screen. And then his Y line is going to be 0.1 because we don't mess with that. But we're also not calling a custom transform, so we have to have his Y position established. Now, Y is weird because 0 is all the way up at the top, and then 1 is all the way down at the bottom. I don't really know how Y works because you can do something like this and it messes up and you have to go through and do a whole bunch of hacky stuff. It's not fun. So you'll have, if you're messing with Y positions at all, you're gonna end up messing with it and trying to find the most hacky position that works for you. But generally, if you want all of the sprites to be exactly where they are in the game, Y position wise, you do your Y line 0.1. Now, that show read scream X center 0.5 puts him all the way over here at the left side of the screen, off screen. So remember when I said that anon is a character tag? Read is also a character tag. And scream is the sprite, this specific sprite. So if there are other sprites in here, like for example, let's do is anon swim. All right, so you have all of these anon ones that are anon, fishing shocked, anon fishing sad, anon fishing concerned. I can take those and do a similar thing with wrong one. Assets, images, sprite. Same thing with read. So I can come down here, I can say show read, and then I don't have to define its read scream because read scream is already here. This is saying, this show read is saying take this sprite and do this action to it. So we're going to do linear 1.5 X center 1.5. So we're getting into some squirrely new territory here. This linear means move to this position in a linear fashion, meaning there's no acceleration. It is a fixed velocity all the way across to this position, which is 1.5. So this is negative 0.5, this is 1.5, so now it's all the way on the other side of the screen, off the right side of the screen. And we're going to save that. We're going to open Snoot game back up. And, oh wait, here he comes. Oh, oops. Like I said, iterative process. Oh, there we go. Oh wait, here he comes. And there he goes. Alright. So now, read showed up on the way off this side of the screen. And he goes to way off this side of the screen in a linear fashion. There we go. We just had read move from one side of the screen to the other. Just simple things like this can add so much to your mod. So technically, you could call this done now. I don't like that. So let's do some more stuff. So let's add something. Let's do something cool. Let's do a pause. Pause 0.5, and then follow along. Show bang flip off happy. I'm gonna double check that, make sure that that was correct. Images. There's Fang. Emotive set. Fang flip off happy. So that's 2 words. Flip off happy with lowercase dissolve. Alright. Show Fang flip off happy with dissolve. Updweeb, you've seen read anywhere. And then we're going to have her go back to her neutral. And then right here, we're going to do show non concern flip with dissolve. And let's go ahead and animate them doing the thing. So we're going to add another pause, 0.75 this time. Show Fang concerned and show anon linear 0.2 x zoom -1. I believe that's how it worked last time. And if it doesn't, this is gonna be we're gonna show you some iteration here. Go to basic set. Surprised. It's not concerned. It's surprised. But this is a good example of what happens when you don't have the sprite. This generic Renpai anime girl silhouette comes up and tells you where you fucked up at. Like, you don't have this sprite defined. So we're going to do Fang surprised with dissolve, show a non-linear 0.2, x zoom 0.1. X zoom is orientation in its basic form. X zoom 1 has it facing the other way, or the normal way. X zoom -1 flips it to the other way. So, for example, we already had a non-flipped, so we just told him to flip him the other way. So, theoretically, this should work. Okay. I'm gonna take that out. Alright, here he comes. Okay. Alright, well, why is Anon doing that? Why is Anon doing that weird stuff? It's because of, and this is only because I figured it out last night, it's only because we have this flip at A right. It's stupid. I hate it. But if you're going to use X zoom, you have to declare your X center to be wherever you want Anon to be. Y align 0.1. Because, remember what I said, that X align sets the X position wherever it determines X is going to the far side. He's rotating around the far side of the sprite. So look down at the bottom of your screen, that's where my cursor is. He's rotating around that. So if you put it at X center, the X, wherever the X is being measured from, is in the center of the sprite. Therefore, whenever we save this and open this back up, you should theoretically flip around the other side. Oh, it's because we have to start at the very beginning. If you do an edit, just letting you know, if you do an edit all the way up here and you're waiting for it to happen down here, you have to progress the story from behind wherever this happens. Because otherwise it already has this loaded in memory and it's not going to change. So that's gonna be a thing. Just be sure whatever edit you make, you back the script up to before whatever happens. Alright, so we're starting all the way back here. It's starting something great. Anon is a little bit closer, not bad, but we have Fang going ahead and flipping off Anon, and she goes back down to her normal. Anon says, not really, no. Concerned Sprite, oh wait, here he comes, and then Reed goes, and he flips around flips around the vertical axis. There you go, and then Fang has her surprise face on. And there he goes. You hoverboard thingy? Yeah, but it's more a castrated segue than Marty McFly in my opinion. Of course you'd say that. And then ta-da, you're done. So let's walk through that. Oh wait, here he comes. Show Reed scream. Starts all the way off the left-hand side of the screen. And his Y line is 0.1. This tells the game, alright, take this Reed sprite, move it over 1.5 seconds in a linear fashion to this position, X center 1.5, all the way off the right-hand side of the screen. You have to have this pause here, because if you don't, then whenever this fires, these are going to fire immediately afterwards. And it's gonna look janky. So if you want if you have a long animation like this 1.5 second animation, and you want other animations to happen in the meantime, you have to tell the game to wait, or else it's going to immediately go to the next thing. Let's actually, that's a good idea. Let's go ahead and take that pause out. Save. Go back to the game. And we're gonna see mods, my mod. There we go. This is the start of something great. We have our characters. They go up, they talk, Anon changes, and look, he changes at the wrong time. Alright? Before Reed's even on screen, he flips. So, that's why we have to have this pause here. Now, the length of this pause is not always going to be half of that. It's just because he's moving from the left-hand side of the screen to the right-hand side of the screen that I want it to happen, that I want it to trigger right as Reed passes the midpoint. And that's why you wait half the time of the total thing, so that all of this happens right as he crosses this midpoint in between the two characters. So Fang's face changes a little fast, but by the time Anon finishes rotating, Reed is coming directly across him, and as he exits out the right side of the screen, Anon is facing that way. Now, we've used linear for pretty much the whole time. Let's do something with ease. So ease is it's kind of hard to describe. So ease starts out the motion slow, it gets fast, and then it ends slow. You can look up and do more research if you go to easings.net. So this is what Ren'Py uses for eases. So your ease in is flipped. Ren'Py takes it a little bit differently than the way easings does it. So this ease in eases into the curve. So it starts out slow and ends fast. Ease in whenever you write it in here. So Let's do show anon ease in 0.3 x center 0.65. We're gonna save, and that, yeah, there you go. All right, and there he goes, and it should kind of start fast and then end slow as he kind of backs up. There, I put that on the wrong spot. So make sure that whatever action you want to happen happens before the dialogue rather than afterwards. So I want this block to happen on this line of dialogue, so it has to happen before, not after. We're going to save that. We're going to open this back up. New hoverboard thingy. And it's kind of hard to see, but it starts out fast and then it ends slow. It's a lot easier to see over a much longer distance. So let's say 0.2 for his X center. Let's save that. Open this back up. And he kind of goes really quickly and then slows down. The longer you do this, the more it makes sense. Or the more you can see it. Now, what you can also do is you can cube it. So make it go really fast. Really fast and then slow down significantly. So this starts out really slow and then it goes really fast. RenPy does it the opposite way. So you do ease in. It starts out really fast and then ends super slow. It's gonna follow this ease out curve. So let's do ease in cubic. Then X center 0.2. And we're gonna come over here. Look that, and there he goes, new hoverboard thingy. Again, it's hard to see, but the more you do it, it starts out really fast and then ends really slow. And you can do quartic, quintic, stuff like that, but you don't really need to. Now, there is, if you look right here, there's an ease in out. That is just ease. So ease, as it sits, starts out slow, gets really fast, ends slow. Ease in does it really fast and then slow. Ease out, so ease out like that, does it really slow and then gets fast. Play around with those, play around with easings. Everything that I'm showing can be found here on RenPy's documentation, renpy.org/doc/HTML, and you can get started on pretty much anything. And it's kind of hard to follow, but the more you use it, the better it gets. And just to finish this off, let's put that down to 0.65. Let's change you to 0.5. Ease in 0.5. So anon eases in to the position over half a second, and that position is X center 0.65. And so that should, theoretically, yep, make him do that. So it's kind of a, I know you couldn't see me doing that, but the intent is there. And just like that, congratulations, you made a mod. you can fiddle around with all of this, and I heavily encourage you to. But that is pretty much all I have for at least this lesson. I will come back later on with a much more advanced lesson, going more in depth into the ins and outs and the real meat and potatoes of ATL, making sure what alpha transitions, more accurate positioning, how to do pretty much all of this stuff as you see it. But that will be for another time. It's already been a little bit over an hour, which I hope should explain a lot of information and get you guys pretty started. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ping me in mod discussion, and I'll probably add and subtract more to this video and repost it as questions are asked. So thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Hopefully you were able to find everything well, and have fun. Bye.